Hey, welcome to Graphic Policy Television, GPTV. I'm Brett. In my hands is American Cult, a graphic history of religious cults in America from the colonial era to today. This is a really fascinating graphic novel. I was super excited when it was first announced, and I've been holding on to it until it came out in shops so I could go and do a review of it. It's pretty awesome. Put out by Silver Sprocket, it features a varied amount of creators, very different styles, very different voices, art styles, how they tackle the actual storytelling, and most importantly, the history of cults in the U.S. Like, it really goes through a lot of different versions and groups, and some of them are going to be controversial. Some of them we know because they've made news, and it's a fascinating read. I think what's really most interesting is not just going through the various cults. I learned a lot out of this. There's a lot of information, a lot of ones that I knew of that I learned specifics I had a clue of before. So kind of going through some of these, like Oneida, which for some reason I feel like I knew a little bit. Fruitlands, which I had no idea that the connection to like Little Women and stuff like that. That was kind of fascinating to me. Of course, Charles Manson has to be covered. Let's see here. Jonestown is covered. We've got Waco, Westboro Baptist Church, Heaven's Gate. The one that I think is going to be super controversial, Orthodox Judaism. There's a case to be made that it's a cult. And I'm Jewish, and I will say I actually don't necessarily disagree with it being included here. And then with Nixium, or whatever it's called, the latest one that made the news. But the big thing is that the way this was taken care of or put together, there's some following criteria. This was the idea of criteria of what qualified as a cult to get into this graphic novel. So it's a group, but it's better described as a community or a family. Fellowship and a sense of belonging are important for a cult. A cult is totalitarian in nature. Cult leaders have authority over their followers, control many aspects of their daily lives. A cult is held together by shared belief system. People usually join a cult because the group's ideology resonates with them, not because they were brainwashed. And the fourth is a cult does not conform to cultural norms. Its members' beliefs and ways of life challenge mainstream values. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like, there's a lot of other things that we could probably say qualify as to those four things. It makes some argument as to like what a cult is compared to those, because we obviously use the word cult a lot in different ways where it's not really meant to be used. But I think it's really interesting reading. It's not just the history I learned. There's some really specific stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to go into. But it was just like, I didn't know that. There's a whole bunch of, like, Jonestown one blew my mind. I had no history. Like, I thought I knew the history of Jonestown. Apparently, I don't know the history of Jonestown. There's some really interesting crossing over with politics and politicians, stuff like that I had no idea, or I forgot, whatever. But I think what's interesting is going through all these is trying to figure out, like, what connects them all. Like, what really drives these people to these groups, and how so many of these groups just go completely off the rails. And I think that to me was really the most interesting thing about it, is just like comparing all these different groups and just the shit show they turned into. Some of them still exist today. I mean, there's a couple connections to a few that I had no idea. I mean, there's one chain restaurant I'm not sure I'm going to be going to anymore after reading this. But yeah, I mean, it's an educational read, and it at no point does it go and try to make the case as to like why these cults happen. It's just like, here's kind of the history. Some of it's from first person's perspectives. This is kind of what they're known for, and this is how they melted down and became a complete mess. Some of them didn't. There's a few that actually like morphed into other things and still going today. But like it's interesting. It's really, really fascinating, and super educational. As I said, the art styles and the story styles are really different. So we have this one, which just is a very kind of basic. Here's the history, and then you've got the one of Charles Manson's much more kind of like a narrative story. with graphic novel, like you'd get normal comic story. Then you get, I forgot which one this is. Source Value, Family Values, Source Restaurant. Like this, just the art is insane for this. You get things like Move, which I thought was really interesting. Like I know of the attack and the bombing that happened to them, but I didn't know like some of the history before them. Yeah, it's just really, really interesting read. I'm trying to find some of the other art that I thought was different. So this is, I think, yeah. So this is Waco and Branch Davidians. Just, again, totally different style. Orthodox Judaism I thought was an interesting one, where it was just making the case of like, this is a cult. And it's not something I ever really thought about, so I thought that was kind of a fascinating read. Jewish, I never really thought about it. And then this is the Nexivium, whatever you call it. And some history in there. Even though I watched the documentaries, I clearly wasn't paying attention as to what a just, not quack, but like lying person, the Keith Rainier, whatever it is, yeah, Rainier's, what he was. Yeah, so, sorry. Trailing on a little bit. I mean, if you like the idea of cult, not necessarily like the ideas of, if you're fascinated by the idea of cults and you want to learn more, to me this is a really good introduction or just kind of quick hits where you can learn a lot about them. Again, I thought it was fascinating to see how they compare, how they're different, and, what, some of the history I had no idea. So, out now in comic shops, you can go get it. I highly recommend it. I think this is really, really cool graphic novel. As I said, out now at comic shops, go get it. We got a link beneath this video. Put in your zip code, tell the shops near you. No shop, no problem. We have some affiliate links. There are affiliate links, so we get a small percentage by doing that. You'll support our site, so thank you. And speaking of support, Silver Sprocket provided us a copy for a review. We appreciate it. Now, if you're into graphic novels, if you're into comics in general, check us out every single day at graphicpolicy.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, all at Graphic Policy, keeping it nice and consistent. Until next time, keep reading those comics, and keep it geeky. Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.